We are live, sir.
Okay.
Kritika, you can start.
Yes, sir. Truly said by PM Narendra Modi, GST is a great step by Team India. Great step towards transformation. Great step towards transparency. GST will also help curtail black money. Traders will be compelled to give proper bills. Namaskar. Evening are life's way of saying that you are closer to your dreams. Good evening to all present. I, Kritika Bhansali, as the MOC for the day, welcome you all to the webinar organized by Jodhpur branch of Sikasa of ICAI on the topic GST TDS and TCS and GST Refund. As we all know that GST was first implemented in France and now about 160 countries in the world have GST. In India, former PM Vajpayee set up a committee to draft GST law in 2000. But as we all know, it became an act in 2017. So we have here with us CA Komal Tawari Soni ma'am, and we all are privileged to have CA Ritesh Bhootra sir as our special invitee of your evening. Before we go further, I would like to request our Sikasa chairman, CA Dhaval Kothari sir, who will deliberate us with his knowledgeable and incredible words on this gracious day of CAV.
Thank you, Kritika. I, CA Dhaval Kothari, on behalf of Jodhpur branch of Sikasa of ICI, welcome you in this webinar. I extend a very warm welcome and greetings to speaker of today's CA Komal Tawari Soni. I also welcome CA Ritesh Bhootra ji and other managing committee members and all the future chartered accountants and viewers. Today is our 6th day of virtual CA Week 2020. In today's webinar, I hope you all will enjoy and learn about GST, GST TDS, GST TCS, and how to claim refund in GST. Thank you. Now over to Kritika.
Kritika, unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, sir, to enlighten us with your words. Before inviting CA Ritesh Bhootra sir, let me introduce him.
Kritika, you muted again.
CA Ritesh Bhootra sir has been past chairman at Jodhpur branch at ICAI and he is practicing CA. So I would request our special invitee Ritesh sir to say a few words.
Thank you, Kritika. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dhavalji, for organizing this webinar and inviting me as a special invitee. I would like to thank CA Komal Tawari also for sharing her valuable time for today's webinar. She's always ready for any activities of a branch, whether it's related with members or students. I'm sure we all shall be greatly benefited by her deliberation. In this CA week, we have organized many activities for students, both in the form of academic and extracurricular. We would like to organize more activities since we all are facing this COVID problem. So we cannot organize physical programs and seminars, but we would definitely try our best to conduct more such programs for students as well as members always. Today's seminar is on GST. Today's webinar is on GST topic. It's related with TDS, TCS, and refunds, GST refund. I'm sure that Ma'am Komal Ma'am would definitely deliberate the best of her, and it's going to really useful for all of you. One more thing, we are always open for suggestion and feedback from you. We would like to receive as many suggestions as possible so that we can conduct more activities for the benefit of students. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you
Over
so
to
much, sir.
Kritika.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Piyush Joshi to introduce our guest, CA Komal Tawari Soni ma'am.
Thank you, Kritika. Good evening. It's Piyush Joshi this side. Today, it's a pleasure for me to introduce our speaker for today's webinar, CA Komal Tawari Soni. She is a practicing chartered accountant working in both direct as well as indirect taxation. She is a GST blogger and have also written various articles on GST in Member General of ICAI. She is a paper presenter, MOC, and part of organizing committee at various regional and sub-regional conferences organized by our own Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She has been a speaker in various seminars. She has a keen interest in public interaction and is always eager to learn new things. Actually, she strongly believes that knowledge increases by sharing, not by saving. Today, she is here to share with us her knowledge of GST TDS, TCS, and GST refund. It's a privilege for us to have an opportunity to listen to such an amazing speaker in this evening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Piyush. Ma'am, we feel honored to have you here with us today. And what better person could we have when we talk about GST? We look forward to your knowledgeable words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kritika and Piyush, for the lovely introduction. And thank you, Dhaval sir and Ritesh sir and Rehman sir for inviting me. I'm really grateful to Jodhpur branch of ICI for inviting me in this week to take the seminar on GST TDS and TCS. So, shall I start with the
Yes,
presentation?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can.
Okay, GST TDS and TCS. Everyone listening to this seminar or webinar would have heard the word TDS somewhere in their life. Either some of them would be deductee or deductors themselves. Someone might would have heard this term in their studies, or someone would have listened to their parents having the conversation about TDS. Either like they would be talking about that they have not deducted the TDS, they have to pay interest and many other things. But till date, everyone used to think that TDS is part of income tax. But everyone was wrong. TDS is part of taxation. I hope everyone listening over here would. I'll just brief out that what is TDS before beginning. What is GST TDS? So what is TDS? Tax deducted at source. It is based on the concept of pay as you earn. So as you earn, you have to pay some tax to the government. But this is not you who will be paying the tax. It is the recipient, that is, I am selling some goods to some person. The other person, while making payment to me, will cut an amount of tax and will pay it to deposit it with the government. This is what the basic concept of TDS. But what was the necessity? What was the what is why TDS was brought into the picture? TDS is nothing. It is an alternative method to collect tax, like advance tax, self-assessment tax, TCS. It gives government a regular inflow of cash, so that instead of receiving the amount at a later date, they can receive the tax earlier. Also, the main reason behind introducing TDS is to prevent tax evasion, and also it creates a responsibility sharing between tax administration and tax deductors. Also, it reduces financial strain for taxpayers. Also, it helps the CBDT, CBIC to keep a track of transactions of supply of goods and services taking place so that they can create an audit trail and monitor and verify the compliances required along with it. So what is the difference between TDS and income tax and TDS and GST? In income tax, there are some threshold limits related to some particular type of transactions relating to which some TDS will be deducted by the persons. While in GST, recipient while making payment to the supplier will deduct tax if the contract value exceeds some prescribed limit. In income tax, the deductors will issue Form 16 and 16A and in GST, deductors will file a return GSTR 7 and certificates will be auto-generated. In income tax, it is compulsory to get TAN number, while in GST, you have to get your TDS registration based on your PAN or TAN. When did TDS in GST came into picture? Earlier, it was notified that TDS will be introduced from 18 September 2017. But in 22nd GST Council meeting, the provisions were put on hold. And again, it was notified in notification number 15 to bring TDS into force from 1st October 2018. So both TDS and TCS came into force on 1st October 2018. All the provisions relating to TDS are given in section 51. Section 51, subsection 1 says about who all are required to deduct TDS under GST. So the TDS deductors are any department or establishment of central or state government, local authorities. I'll be discussing what is local authority in the next slide. Governmental agencies. Again, the fourth clause of this section says that government will notify on the recommendation of GST Council some other tax deductors, which were notified in notification number 33 2017, which says other deductors are authority, board, or any body set up by an act of parliament or state legislature. So any body set up by parliament or state legislature or any body established by government. There was a confusion when this notification was issued whether any body established by the government should have 51% share capital in the 51% equity share should be held by government in this provision or in both. So it was clarified in circular number 76/50/2018 that it is compulsory to have government to hold 51% of equity control in both bodies set up by the parliament or state legislature or in any body established by government. Also, the societies established by central government, state government, and local authorities under Societies Registration Act will also be deducting taxes. And the fourth one is public sector undertakings. What is local authority? It is defined in section 2, subsection 69. Local authority means any panchayat, municipality, municipal committee, Jila Parishad, district board, cantonment board, regional council, district council, development board, or a regional council. So when a recipient is required to deduct in GST, so the basic concept, everyone listening to this video, so just remember the key point over in the TDS application is contract value. So whenever the TDS will be deducted only on the basis of the contract agreed between recipient and the supplier. If there's a contract of more than 2,50,000 of the taxable supply value of goods or services to be supplied, then only recipient is required to deduct tax and pay the remaining amount to the supplier. So when recipient and supplier enters into a contract of supply of taxable goods and services, and the contract value of such supply means contract value of taxable supply exceeds rupees 2,50,000, then the recipient, the deductor, will deduct tax from the payment made or credited to the supplier. So remember contract value and contract value of taxable supplier. There are some cases. In first case, there was an agreement of rupees 4 lakh. There was a contract of 4 lakh of taxable value to be supplied by supplier to recipient. In this case, TDS will be deducted. In another case, there was a contract of rupees 2 lakh. In this case, since the prescribed limit is 2,50,000 and this is below the prescribed limit, tax will not be deducted. There's a third case in which the contract value is 4 lakh, but the payment will be made in 2 installments of rupees 2 lakh each. Now there are many questions by people that whether the TDS will be deducted in this case or not. So if we read carefully the section, it is written the contract value. So contract value is rupees 4 lakh. No matter how many installments you pay, tax will be deducted on in each installment on the taxable value of the particular installment. What are the rate at which TDS will be deducted? TDS will be deducted at the rate 1% in CGST, SGST and UTGST Act and 2% in IGST Act. While there is some exceptions when TDS will not be deducted. No TDS will be deducted if the location of the supplier and the place of supply is in one state, while the location of the recipient is in a different state. I'll also tell you the reason why in this case TDS will not be deducted. Before that, just look at some of the examples so we can understand it in a better way. Suppose the location of the supplier is in Rajasthan. Place of supply is also in Rajasthan. Location of recipient is also in Rajasthan. This becomes an intrastate transaction. TDS will be deducted and TDS will be deducted as Rajasthan CGST and Rajasthan SGST. So yes, TDS will be applicable. Now, location of the supply is in Rajasthan, place of supply is in Gujarat. I hope everyone is clear that GST is a destination-based consumption tax. So place of provisions उसी तरह से पता किए जाएंगे. Place of supply के provisions. So अगर location of supply is in Rajasthan and place of supply is in Gujarat and location of recipient is also in Gujarat, this becomes interstate transaction because the place of supply is in Gujarat. In this case also TDS will be deducted and the type of tax will be IGST. So TDS is applicable. Now comes the exceptional point. Location of supplies in Rajasthan. I am in Rajasthan. I'm supplying goods in Rajasthan, but the recipient who has ordered the goods is in Gujarat. Now, how will he deduct tax? As he is registered in Gujarat, how can he deduct and the transaction becomes intrastate transaction? Then how can he deduct Rajasthan CGST, SGST from Gujarat? There is no such convenience given in GST portal to deduct some other states CGST, SGST. So for the convenience of the tax deductors, their TDS is not applicable in this transaction. Now, if I am in Rajasthan, so that is the supply is in Rajasthan and I am supplying goods to Gujarat, while the recipient who has ordered the good is registered in Maharashtra. It is an interstate transaction because of Rajasthan, Gujarat, but tax will also be deducted as the tax is IGST. And similarly, if the location of the supplier and the location of the recipient both are in Rajasthan and the place I am supplying the goods, that is the supplier is supplying the goods in Gujarat, it becomes an interstate transaction and the IGST will be deducted and TDS will be deposited with the government. Now, we have seen who all are liable to deduct TDS. We have seen the exceptional point. Now comes when those people who are the tax deductors are not liable to deduct TDS. First is that depends on the location of the recipient, and second is if I am a PSU, that is the supplier is a PSU, and I have entered into a contract with PSU, there will be no TDS applicable. We can refer to notification number 61, which says if there is a contract between PSU and PSU, TDS will not be applicable. Also, department or any establishment of central government, local authority, governmental agencies, or all the four notified earlier have any transactions with any one of them, have any contract with any one of them, TDS will not be deducted. There was also a notification for Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense were exempted from deducting TDS. However, some units which are mentioned in Annexure A of Ministry of Defense will have to deduct TDS. However, overall Ministry of Defense will not have to deduct TDS. TDS registration. So, who all have to get registration under GST? Suppose everyone, it is mandatory provision in section 24 that every TDS deductor will have to compulsory register under GST. And this TDS registration will be different from normal GST registration. It's written, tax deductors have to compulsory get TDS registration irrespective of GST registration under section 24 by using PAN or TAN. We all are aware that we get a GST registration number while using PAN. So for every GST registration, it is compulsory for the person to have his own PAN. But for TDS registration, exemption was given that for getting TDS registration, person can have 10. And the provision is specified in section 25 subsection 6, saying that for the purpose of TDS registration, you can have a tax deduction collection account number issued in Income Tax Act. So for getting TDS registration, it is not compulsory for TDS deductor to have their own PAN. They can get their TDS registration based on 10 number. In this image, you can see there are multiple registration. This is of Hindustan Petroleum Limited. Different states, different registration numbers. Here, there are two registration numbers of Maharashtra. So you can look at it. In one is of regular registration and other is for tax deductor. So how TDS will be deducted? Once you become applicable for deducting tax, okay, you have entered into a contract of more than 2,50,000. You are also eligible TDS deductor. Now, how will you deduct tax? Remember, when we talk about the contract value of taxable supply, it is excluding the CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, and cess indicated in the invoice. So, if Mr. X supplies goods to Mr. Y under a contract of rupees 3 lakh, and he makes payment of first installment of 1,18,000. And this 1,18,000 is inclusive of GST. So at what value TDS will be deducted, whether it will be 1,18,000 or 1 lakh. So to be clear, it was written that TDS will be deducted on the contract value of taxable supply. So in this 1,18,000, the contract value of taxable supply is 1 lakh. So TDS at the rate 2% will be deducted on 1 lakh, that is 2,000, and the payment of 1,16,000 will be given to Mr. Y. So payment of TDS. So in how much time the recipient will have to deposit the TDS payment with the government. So the provision is given in section 51 subsection 2. The amount deducted as tax under this section will be given to the government within 10 days. Suppose I deduct tax in month of May, then I have to pay TDS by 10th of June, that is deposit the TDS amount by 10th of June to the government. Every TDS deductor will have to file GST return. The form prescribed here is GSTR 7. Earlier in the beginning, I told that in income tax, we issue form 16 and 16A. That is the TDS deductor issue form 16 and 16A after filing the return. In this, the deductor will file return GSTR 7 and form certificate will be auto-generated. Now, earlier there was a provision that certificate will be issued, and if it's not issued, there will be some penalties. Now, that provision is removed, and the new provision is that GSTR 7A will be auto-generated on filing of GSTR 7. So let's look at what is GSTR 7. Tax deductor has to file return in form GSTR 7. The provision is given in Rule 66 Sub-Rule 1, either on electronic common portal and from a facilitation center. So this is a basic format of GSTR 7 as given in the Part B of the rules. In form GSTR 7, the first point is GST number that will be auto-populated, legal name, trade name, everything will be auto-populated. Third point is detail of the tax deducted source that the deductor will have to fill. And he has to give GST of deductee, amount paid to deductee on which tax is deducted. This amount paid tax deducted, that is 1 lakh, will be coming over here, and the amount of tax deducted source, that 1,16,000 will be coming here, and 2,000. If any amendments are to be made, अगर पहले अपन ने कोई TDS deduct किया है उसमें कुछ गलत fill कर दिया, तो वो सारी चीजें will be coming in point 4. And again, the tax deducted at source and paid, it will be coming in IGST, CGST, and SGST accordingly. If there is any late payment, interest is put, that the details will be coming in point 6. As like in GSTR 3B, you cannot file return until and unless you make the payment. Similarly, in GSTR 7, you cannot file the GSTR 7 until and unless you pay the liability. In point 7, again, any refund which is claimed from electronic cash ledger details will be coming over here. This is all about GSTR 7. And there comes a certificate. The provision for certificate to be issued is given in section 51 subsection 3. A certificate of tax deduction at source will be issued electronically to the deductee on the common portal in form GSTR 7A on the basis of return furnished. Form 7A will be system generated only if GSTR 7 is filed. So what's the role of deductee in this GST TDS provisions? The details furnished by the deductor shall be made available electronically to each of the deductees on the common portal. On their login, on their portal, as soon as the deductor files GSTR 7, the details will be made available to the deductees. They can accept or reject the tax deducted claims, and later on they can claim the credit for further transactions. The details furnished by the deductors shall be made available electronically to each of the deductees on the common portal after filing of form GSTR 7 for claiming the amount of tax deducted in his electronic cash ledger after validation. So all the amount of tax deducted will be credited to electronic cash ledger of the deductee. The deductee shall claim credit in his electronic cash ledger of the tax deducted and reflected in the return of the deductor furnished and use it for payment of taxes. So as I said, whatever amount that is come into their electronic cash ledger, they can use it for further payment of taxes by claiming as ITC. So, but before that, they have to validate it whether they want to accept it or reject it. If the deductor or deductee there's an excess or erroneous deduction by the deductor or any sort of refund is required, all the provisions of section 54 will be applicable. We'll be discussing some basic concepts of refund in the next presentation. So, but if the refund, if the amount is credited to electronic cash ledger of the supplier by the recipient, then no refund will be issued to the recipient, that is the deductor. Once he files the return and the supplier's electronic cash ledger becomes credited with the amount, then recipient is not eligible to claim any refund. What are the penalty provisions? Some penalty provisions are given in section 122. Apart from it, if the deductor fails to pay tax, then he have to pay interest as per section 50 subsection 1. Maximum rate can be 18%. And if any default is made, it will be dealt as per section 73 and 74, that is offences section. Now there are some cases that if payment is made to if a payment is made to unregistered supplier, TDS will be deducted or not. No, TDS will not be deducted. Contract of taxable as well as exempted goods or services from, if there's a contract of supplying taxable goods as well as exempted goods, only the value of taxable goods will be considered. Suppose I have a contract of 6 lakhs, out of which 4 lakh is for exempted goods and 2 lakh of taxable goods. TDS will not be deducted. If of a contract values of 2.6 lakh, inclusive of GST at the rate 18%. If I have a contract of 2.6 lakh, that is, it is more than 2.5 lakh, but this is inclusive of GST. So after removing the GST value, the contract becomes of less than 2.5 lakh. And what 2.5 lakhs apply when contract is of up to 2.5 lakh. So in this case also TDS will not be deducted. Now there are some activities mentioned and transactions mentioned in Schedule 3. If there are such transactions, TDS will be not deducted. That is, they are not taxable supply. They are non-taxable supply. Also, any transactions related to exempted goods, exempted services, on all those transactions, no TDS will be deducted. I hope I am clear with the TDS provisions. Now we'll move forward towards TCS under GST. TCS, now what is TCS? TCS is different from TDS. It is on the same method, but there's some differences. TCS in GST is tax collected at source, means it just applies to e-commerce operators like Flipkart, Ola, Amazon. That is the operator e-commerce platforms over which the suppliers supply their goods through e-commerce operators to the customers. But the TCS will be applicable only to those e-commerce operators where the consideration is received by the e-commerce themselves and they give it to the supplier by keeping their commission. What was the need to bring TCS for e-commerce operators in GST? Because there were many e-commerce operators who were operating in India. They were taking the commissions from the people supplying in India, but there was no physical presence of them in India. So they always, मतलब वो लोग हमेशा टैक्स के उससे निकल जाते थे. So इसलिए that was the reason e-commerce operators were brought into picture, and TCS was put on the supplies made by them. So on what value TCS will be charged? That is on the net value of taxable supplies made through it by other suppliers from the consideration received by them. I'll give an example in the next slide. So, but just remember, only when the e-commerce operator receives the consideration, then only they will collect TCS. What is e-commerce and what is e-commerce operator? The section 2 subsection 44 says electronic commerce means the supply of goods or services, including digital products over digital or electronic network, like supplying any goods or providing any services over, like through Ola, through Flipkart, Amazon, Jabong, and e-commerce operator are all those platforms. What is net value of taxable supplies? There is any aggregate value of all taxable supplies minus all the returns received by the supplier. But there is also a point of section 9 subsection 5. All those services will not be considered. So net taxable value is aggregate value of taxable supplies of goods minus the returns and the services notified under section 9 subsection 5. So on that net aggregate value, TCS will be collected. Who is not required to collect TCS? As I said earlier, there was some exemption provided in the earlier section, that is section 9 subsection 5. it says that government on the recommendation of the council by notification can specify that some intrastate supplies by electronic commerce operators will be if there's some intrastate supplies by electronic commerce operators, such transactions services will be considered as, that is, the supplies are done by electronic commerce operators themselves. That is, there will be no suppliers in the pictures. Electronic commerce operators will be considered as supplier. That is, e-commerce operators themselves become the supplier, and the tax GST will be paid by e-commerce operator themselves. That is, no tax will be collected and deposited and credited to their electronic cash ledger of the suppliers. E-commerce operators themselves become liable of paying tax to the government. And that is so, and the such services were also notified in notification number 17, 2017, that the supplies are, if any transportation of passengers are done by radio taxi, motor cab, maxi cab like Ola, Uber, etc. Also, if any accommodation is given in hotels and guest house, but however, there's an exception again in this point, that if such hotels and inns are themselves are required to get registration under section 22, that is, if their threshold limit increases and they have to get registered, then this notification will not apply to them. In that case, again, e-commerce will have, operators will have to deduct TCS, collect TCS. Also, the third point is housekeeping services, which was notified in notification number 23. Like after urban company came into picture. So any sort of housekeeping services, accommodation in hotels and transportation of passengers. Also the same point of section 22 subsection 1 applies to housekeeping services. Like if they also become liable to get registered under section 22 subsection 1, again TCS will be collected by e-commerce operators. Remember, this is only for intrastate supplies. And the point, the registration clause will come and only for hotels and housekeeping services. For transportation of passengers by Ola, Uber, there is no such clause of section 22, subsection 1. So if any such transactions take place, no TCS will be collected. At what rate TCS will be collected? The rates were notified in section notification 52. CGST at the rate 0.5%, SGST at the rate 0.5%, and IGST 1%. Again, it is mandatory to get registered for TCS. So remember, I am an e-commerce operator. I have to register. Also, person supplying through me to the customers, they also have to register. Other than the person supplying through as per section 9.5 services. So like the transportation of passengers wala point, housekeeping services and hotels, they all don't have to register. And for hotels and housekeeping services, until unless registration liability arises. So all the suppliers supplying through e-commerce operators will have to register. All the e-commerce operators will also have to register compulsorily. They all have to register. So if a supplier supplies services specified in section 9.5 through e-commerce operator, then it is not compulsory for supplier to register until it crosses threshold limit as per section 22. But only in this, only point 2 and 3 will be applicable for accommodation in hotels and housekeeping services. So how TCS is collected? In this example, e-commerce operator is the e-commerce platform. Mr. X is supplying goods to Flipkart or Ola. There can be many situations in which such transactions take place. There might be a case in which Mr. Y places an order over e-commerce platform, and in return, the e-commerce platform give the order to supplier, and the supplier directly supply goods to Mr. Y. Or there can be a situation as given in the picture. Mr. Y give order to Flipkart, e-commerce operator, and Mr. X had a contract with Flipkart or Amazon or anyone to keep their goods in warehouse. So in such case, there can be many situations, but overall, what the main point is that when TCS will be collected is then when Mr. Y make payment to e-commerce operator. So when Mr. Y gives the consideration to Flipkart or Amazon or Ola, and then this give the payment to Mr. X, then they will collect an amount of TCS and pay the remaining amount to the supplier. Now, when payment of TCS will be done? TCS payment will be done again in the same line of TDS. That is, I've collected TCS in the month of May. Then I have to pay TCS, that is deposit the TCS with the government in the month of by 10th of June. So according to section 52 subsection 3, the amount collected as tax under this section shall be paid to the government by the operator within 10 days after the end of the month in which such collection is made in such manner as prescribed. All the e-commerce operators also have to furnish a statement, a monthly statement and an annual statement. Monthly statement in form GSTR 8. Again by 10th of the next month in which TCS is collected. This is also a format of GSTR 8. Legal name and trade name will be auto-populated. Detail of all the supplies made through e-commerce operator will be given in the table number 3. Any supplies made to registered persons also and unregistered person also will be given in this. If there are any amendments relating to previous statements, this will be given in table number 4. If any late payments, and the interest will be given in table number 5. Tax becomes that the tax amount that becomes payable and paid comes in table number 6. Also, this is a statement cannot be filed until and unless payment is done. Refund claim in table 8. Also, as I said, annual statement will also be filed. It is annual statement provision is given in section 52 subsection 5. That is by the 31st December of the following the end of the such financial year. Form GSTR 9B. The e-commerce operator who is required to collect tax has to file an annual statement by 31st day of December following the end of such financial year. Suppose if I am an e-commerce operator and I discover any discrepancy that I've omitted or misstated something in my earlier statement, not because of any scrutiny done by the department or any audit or inspection done by the tax authorities. If I discover on my own that I have omitted any transaction or want to rectify something in my earlier statement, I have to rectify the I can rectify the discrepancy noticed in the next month statement. But the last date is either earlier of the both, either the last date of the annual statement or the last date of the return to be filed for the month of September in the next financial year. So earlier of the both, I can rectify the mistakes. So again, what's the role of the supplier? Same like the deductees in TDS, as soon as the form GSTR 8 will be filed, all the amount of tax collected will be shown in my electronic cash ledger, and I can claim the same, I can validate it and then claim the same credit for further payment of tax. I am a supplier and I'm supplying goods to e-commerce operator. E-commerce operator will file written statement for GSTR 8. He will be giving all his details in GSTR 8. I am a supplier. I have to also register. I will also be required to file some returns. In my returns also, I'll be giving the details about the taxes, all the transactions I have made. So if and the departments will match all the transactions. If there is any mismatch, they will communicate the discrepancy to both of us. And they will give a time. If the discrepancies are not resolved, what they will do, they will all the amount which is mismatched they will add it to the output tax liability of the supplier in the month in which such discrepancy is communicated. That is, in the May, the discrepancy was noticed by the department, it is not corrected. Then in the next month, they will add it into the supplier's tax liability along with the interest. Also, it is the right of all the authorities not below the rank of deputy commissioner that they can serve a notice on the TCS or on the operator to give the details about all the supplies of all the goods or services or the stock of goods held by the operator in their godowns or warehouses of the supplier. And operator, it's mandatory for the operator to give the required information within 15 working days. If he doesn't do it on time, he'll be liable to penalty up to 25,000 along with the penal action under section 122. Also, when there will be no TCS will be collected, composition dealer cannot supply goods through an e-commerce operator who is required to collect tax under TCS. So no composition dealer can supply goods through e-commerce operators, and no TCS. Suppose, this is also an important point. Suppose I am a sub manufacturer of some textile garments, and I have my own website through which I am selling the goods. In this case, TCS will not be collected because the main provision says when any supplier supplies through e-commerce operator goods to customers. So in this case, I am supplying goods on my own account. TCS will not be collected by me for the supplies I have made. And thank you. GST TDS and TCS topic is over. Rahman sir. Hello.
Yes, Komal.
So TDS and TCS is over. Shall I start with GST refund or something else?
1 second. If any queries, we can take.
Or they can mail me.
Moiburji, is there any query on YouTube? Maybe any technical issues. Komal, you can go continue. We'll take all queries at the end.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Moiburji.
Yes, sir.
Is there any query on YouTube?
Sir, no, sir. There is no query on YouTube right now.
Till now, okay. If any queries, we'll take on at the end.
Okay, sir.
I hope everyone would be clear with the GST, TDS, and TCS. If any one of you have any queries regarding it, you can mail me or can send the queries over my blog or ask me later on after the session. So let's move towards GST refund. As I told earlier, we have talked about GST refund and TDS also, that if there's any erroneous deduction or excess deduction, how will they be claiming the deduction? I will just cover some of the concepts of GST TDS today. So GST refund, the provision related to why people refund is the main concept of taxation. So the GST refund is given in the section 54 to 58 of CGST Act. We all know there's a refund provision in IT Act also, we are and similarly the refund provisions are there in GST Act. So GST Act's refund provision are given in section 54 to 58. Also, section IGST Act also have some refund provision, that is in section 16 subsection 3 IGST Act. A registered person making zero related supply shall be eligible to claim refund. I hope everyone would be knowing what is zero rated supply, but I will be explaining in brief in other slide too. Refund is discussed in explanation to section 54 also, which says refund includes refund of tax paid on zero rated supplies of goods or services, or input services used in making such zero rated supply, or refund of tax on the supply of goods regarded as deemed exports. What is deemed exports? And refund of unutilized ITC as provided in subsection 3 of section 54. There are many other situations also in which GST will be claimed.
Interrupt you, Komal.
Yes, sir.
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है प्रॉपर.
नहीं हो रहा है.
नहीं, सिर्फ वो आपका जो यहाँ पे आपने सेव कर रखा वो स्क्रीन आ रही है.
I'll wait.
Now it's showing. Unmute yourself, Komal. Komal, unmute yourself. Now it's
Sure हो रहा है?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, refund provisions in GST Act is given in section 54 to 58 of CGST Act and section 16 of IGST Act. Section 16 subsection 3 says about that any person, registered person making zero rated supply can claim refund. Also, the refund is explained in the explanation to section 54, which says refund includes refund of tax paid on zero rated supplies of goods or services, or input services used in making zero rated supplies, refund of tax on supplies of goods regarded as deemed exports, or refund of unutilized ITC as provided in subsection 3. We'll be discussing some sections. I'll be covering the situations in which refund can be claimed today. So there are many other situations also in which a person can claim GST. So who all can claim GST and when? Now I know I'm eligible for some refund, but there will be a time limit within which I can claim the refund. And also whether I am eligible to claim refund or not. So section 54 subsection 1 of CGST Act says there's a language that any person can claim refund of any tax or interest provided application for refund is made before expiry of 2 years from relevant date. What is relevant date? That is a different topic. We'll consider it later on. But any person, means the person can be registered as well as unregistered. Okay, unregistered person can also claim refund. How is that possible? We'll see in some other situation when we'll discuss the situations in which you can claim refund. So remember, if you want to claim refund, you have to apply for refund before expiry of 2 years from where you become eligible to claim refund. Just take relevant date as when you become eligible to claim refund. There's another section that is a different time limit is given for some entities. So as per section 54 subsection 2 of CGST Act, specialized or notified entities entitled to a refund of tax paid by it on inward supplies of goods or services or both may make an application for such refund before expiry of 18 months. Earlier, the time limit was 6 months. It was increased to 18 months via notification number 20/2018 from the last day of the quarter in which such supply was received. That is, such entities receive the inward supply in the April, May, June wala quarter. Then the 18-month limit will be starting from 1st of July. So two limits 2 years for as per section 54 subsection 1, and for specialized entities 18 months. Okay, what are specialized or notified entities we'll be discussing further. So any person can claim refund of any tax or interest, application to be done before expiry of 2 years, and as per section for specified entities 18 months. So what are the situation where refund can be claimed? Okay, before going through it, let's see what is zero rate of supply. Zero rate of supply means supplies on which there is 0% rate. That is, it is given a term that any supplies, that is any exports done, are zero rated supplies. No, also the transactions with CES, that is special economic zone, are also zero rated supply. The zero rated supplies can be done in 2 ways, either through bond or a letter of undertaking, or through IGST. I'll just tell in short. There are 2 options given to all the persons making zero rated supply. One, they can pay the tax and send the goods, and then can claim refund of the IGST paid. Or they can sign a bond or LOU and then just claim refund for inward supplies on which tax was paid. There are also some rules and formulas given for claiming a refund, how much refund you can claim for such supplies, which will be not be discussing now. So what are the situations in which refund can be claimed? Is ITC refund, that is, as I said, any refund, zero rated supplies done without payment of tax, that is, with on base export or supply to CES under bond or letter of undertaking. So in this case, so the input tax credit which is there on inward supplies, on those we can claim refund. In inverted duty structure, what is inverted duty structure? Suppose I am getting a goods and then my inward supply and the GST rate on my inward supply is 18%. Well, I'm supplying, I'm making an outward supply on which the GST rate is 5%. That is called inverted duty structure. If the rate of tax on my inward supply is more than the rate of tax on my outward supply, then also I'll be eligible to claim ITC. However, if I export any goods out of India which are subject to export duty, or if I avail duty drawback of central tax, or I claim refund of IGST, then I cannot claim refund of ITC. We already considered the point, if zero rated supplies made on payment of integrated tax. So whatever the tax I have paid, I can claim refund in accordance with the provisions, further provisions given in this section. Refund to specialized agencies. Earlier I said the government on the recommendation of the council can recommend any specialized agencies who will also be eligible to claim refund. That is, and the government through notification 16/2017 and notification number 6/2017 have notified some entities. So these are the entities, they don't have their GST registration. They are given their UIN number, that is unique identification number, through which that they can claim refund. So they are also can be considered that they are not registered persons. So United Nations and foreign diplomatic mission or consular post in India, or diplomatic agents or career counselor officers posted therein are eligible for refund, and canteen store departments under Ministry of Defense are also entitled to claim refund up to of 50% of central tax paid on inward supply used for subsequent supply to unit run canteens or authorized customers of. If so, such canteen store department can only claim 50% of central tax paid on inward supply as refund. There are some other points too. Refund of excess tax paid. Refund of excess. Suppose I've paid some extra tax which I was not required to. I can claim refund of those also. Refund of excess balance in e-cash ledger. There's a extra balance there in my electronic cash ledger on my portal GST. So I can claim refund of that also. The provisions which has to be referred is section 49 subsection 6. Refund on basis of refund voucher. Suppose I have entered into a contract and I've made an advance payment, but the later on supply was not provided. In advance payment, there was the provision to pay tax. So such payment, in that case, the refund voucher will also be issued by the in the this contract, and the tax will be refunded on the basis of refund voucher. In refund, there is also a provision in zero rated supply that once the provisional assessment will be won, then the refund amount will be finalized. So once the provisional assessment is finalized, refund will be provided. Refund of tax paid on deemed exports may be claimed by recipient or supplier. Now there's a what are deemed exports? There's some goods, yes, only goods which are notified where the governments will be deemed as deemed exports. Like you would have heard about EPCG, export oriented units, or advance authorization, or any gold. So such transaction, I will not be covering the deemed what is means deemed exports over here, but I'll give you a brief introduction. There's a notification in which there was deemed exports were notified. So any transaction against EPCG or any transactions to export oriented units, or there's some one or more 2 points, all those transactions are deemed exports. In those cases also refund will be granted. But who will be claiming refund of such deemed exports? Either the recipient or the supplier. But supplier can claim deemed exports refund only if the recipient who is receiving such goods don't avail ITC. Suppose I am the recipient, I don't claim ITC for my further payments, don't avail ITC, or I give an undertaking that supplier can claim the refund. Then only the supplier will become eligible to claim refund for deemed exports. Now there's any judgment order is passed by appellate tribunal, appellate authority, or any court. Then also refund will be issued. There are many situations when the person is required to deduct CGST, SGST, and by mistake they deduct IGST, or when they have to deduct IGST, they deduct CGST, SGST. Then also for tax wrongly collected and paid, refund will be granted. Refund of advance tax deposited by casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. Who are casual taxable person? Okay, just remember that here there are some casual. Okay, we'll discuss what is casual taxable person, but any tax deposited by them will also be refunded only after all the returns have been filed. So what is casual taxable person? Casual taxable person means a person who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods or services or both in course or furtherance of business, whether as a principal or agent or in any other capacity in a state or union territory. Suppose a person comes from different state to another state just for a temporary assignment. He will not be registered over here. So those are casual taxable persons. They have to deposit some advance tax in. So if they have paid taxes more than which they have to, suppose they have deposited an advance tax of 1 lakh, but their tax was of just GST was just of amount 90,000. Then the 10,000 will be refunded to them. I have also not covered a point, refund to tourists. There are many, if there any tourist enters into India for stay of not more than 6 months for non-immigrant purposes, so such persons, if any supplies are made to such persons, then also refund will be granted. Such provisions are not yet applicable, but these are also unregistered persons. When will refund will not be granted? Suppose a person claim a refund of amount less, just of rupees 500 or 900, 950, then refund will not be issued to them. However, if the refund is taken from electronic cash ledger, refund will be taken. And next point is, when goods are exported out of India subject to export duty, I have discussed it earlier. So if any goods are exported out of India with export duty or the supplier avails drawback, refund of IGST will not be done. Principle of unjust enrichment. This principle is based on the concept that it is understood that whenever a supplier supplies any goods, if he passes, it is assumed that he has passed the incidence of tax he was charged on him to the customer. So the person who is not, only the person who will be eligible to claim refund will be the person who has not passed the incidence to the recipient. That is, the supplier should not have recovered the tax from the recipient of the tax which he has paid on his inward supply. So person who has not passed the incidence of tax will be eligible to claim refund. So I will be eligible to claim refund only if I has not passed the incidence of tax from to the recipient. If I am not able to prove that I have not passed the incidence, then all the refund amount will be credited to the consumer welfare fund instead of crediting it to my electronic cash ledger. So how will a person prove that he has not passed the incidence? He becomes he have to prove it by providing a certificate in Annexure 2 of Form GST RFD01, which will be issued by either a CA, chartered accountant, or a cost accountant, signing it to the effect that the incidence was not being passed to any other person. So if the refund amount is more than 2 lakh, then you have to get a certificate from the chartered accountant or the cost accountant. The certificate will be according to the Annexure 2 of Form GST RFD01, that they will be certifying that you have not passed the incidence of the refund to any other person. Then only you will be getting the refund. In case the refund is less than 2 lakh, then applicant may file a declaration on their own based on the documentary or other evidences available with me. Suppose I have a refund of 1 lakh only, then I'll be whatever the evidence I have with me, I'll declare that I have not the past incidence to any other person, then I'll be eligible to claim refund. But there are there's an exception given in the act that where I don't need to provide any certificate or I don't need to give any declaration to claim refund. That is, it is assumed that in some situations में तो आपने incidence pass नहीं किया होगा. So what are the situations in which certificate is not required? As per section 54 subsection 8 of CGST Act, the refundable amount shall, instead of being credited to the consumer welfare fund, be paid to the applicant if such amount is relatable to, that is, सेक्शन 54(5) में बोलता है कि रिफंड जो भी आपका होगा वो कंज्यूमर वेलफेयर फंड में डाल दिया जाएगा. लेकिन सेक्शन 54(8) says, and if you don't want the refund to be given transfer to consumer welfare fund, you have to give certificate and declaration. But section 54 subsection 8 gives a exception to it, that you don't need to give any certificate and the refund will not be transferred to consumer welfare fund and it will be given to you. If refund of tax paid on export of goods, if I've paid any IGST on export of goods, then refund will be given to me. If there's unutilized ITC, which we discussed earlier in section 54 subsection 3, that is of inverted duty structure or zero rater supply based on any bond or letter of undertaking. Refund of tax paid on supply which is not provided either wholly or partially, and for which invoice has not been issued or for where a refund voucher has been issued. ऐसी सप्लाई जो प्रोवाइड ही नहीं हुई और उसका जो टैक्स बनता है वो. Refund of tax in pursuance of section 77. सेक्शन 77 दैट CGST SGST पे करना था, IGST कर दिया, IGST पे करना था, CGST SGST कर दिया. Tax or any interest or any other amount paid by the applicant if he had not passed on the incidence of such tax and or the tax or interest by such other class of applicants as government may on the recommendation of council by notice. So this is if government notifies something. refund application, all the persons filing the refund application will have to file application in form RFD01. But for exports, their shipping bill will be considered refund on its own, a refund application. The shipping bill will be considered as a refund application. Or from electronic cash ledger, you can take refund as per section 49 subsection 6. And I have not mentioned over here, for specified entities, they have to file application in RFD 10, RFD 10. I'll not be discussing the procedures. It will take another 1-2 hours. So, thank you. Hello.
Yes, Komal.
I'm done with my presentations.
Okay.
Any point you would like me to do it again on a slide or something?
Yeah, exactly. Can you explain goods of service? Some student ask, what's the question? If a person providing commission services to a foreign company in India, will it be termed as the export of service?
Yes, sir.
If a person providing commission services to a foreign company in India,
Yes.
will it be termed as the export of service?
Okay. This is a different topic from GST refund. There are many provisions related to export of service. I will reply it over the mail properly.
Okay, no issue.
Because I have to explain again the other provisions to the people.
Sure, no
Of
issue.
export of service. As you also know, there should be a. But I can just tell that you can go through the provision of export of service, that there should be a payment in the foreign currency or not. Who is the supplier and who is the receiver?
Okay, no issue. You can reply on mail. We'll forward the query to you and you can reply on mail.
Okay, sir. So I'm done with it.
Yeah. Wait, Kritika, is
Yes,
there
sir.
any query on YouTube? Ask Mohiburji. Mohiburji available?
Yes, sir, available.
Is there any query on YouTube?
YouTube, sir. No, sir. There is no query on YouTube, sir.
Okay.
But there are some positive comments.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Komal, can you explain again the export against LUT?
Okay. Zero rated supplies are
Yes.
there are
Zero.
of two kinds. That is either through bond or LUT or by paying IGST. So zero rated supplies are basically export or any supplies to special economic zones. So they are given two options, either supplied through bond or LUT or through IGST. In bond or LUT, if you want to claim refund, there's a formula. I'm explaining it with regard to refund only, sir.
Okay.
So in zero rated supplies, if a person want to claim refund, he'll be claiming refund on the inward supplies. So there's a formula given in the rule on the amount he'll be claiming the refund. So you can refer rules from the CGST rules. Should I show it? We have time. There's an issue with my internet connection. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should I? We have time now. I can show you some rules regarding GST.
Yes, we have time.
Hello.
So rules related to GST refund are given in chapter 10 of CGST rules, rule 89. As I was saying, if you want to claim refund of the in case of when you supply through bond or letter of undertaking, so here it is given, then where the application relates to the refund of input tax credit, in case of zero rated supply of goods or services or both without payment of tax, that is under bond or letter of undertaking, the refund of ITC will be granted on the following formula. That is, whatever zero rated supply of goods or services you make into net ITC divided by adjusted total turnover. So what is the refund amount? That is the maximum refund that will be admissible to you, which will be coming according to the formula. So net ITC means input tax credit availed on input and input services during the relevant period other than input tax credit availed for which refund is claimed under subrule 4A and 4B. What is the turnover? Means the value of zero rated supply of goods made during the relevant period without payment tax under bond or letter of undertaking, or the value which is 1.5 times the value of like goods domestically supplied by the same or similarly placed supplier as declared by the supplier. So turnover of zero rated supply means the value of zero rated supply of goods उस time period में आपने कितना supply किया है without payment of tax, that is under bond or letter of undertaking, either this or the value which is 1.5 times the value of like goods domestically supplied by them. So that is, you domestically supply goods also and out of you export also. So either the value of goods supplied under bond or undertaking, or value of goods 1.5 times the value of goods domestically supplied. So whichever is less will be taken as the turnover. Turnover zero rated supply of services means the value of zero rated supply. In the zero rated supply of services, the aggregate of payment received during the relevant period for zero rated of supply of services and zero rated of supply where supply has been completed for which payment has been received in advance for any period. So this is basically the how much refund will be admissible to you. So you have to take only net ITC as per the definition I have explained. Turnover will be as either less of the domestic supplies ka 1.5 times or zero rated supply done on the basis of bond or letter of undertaking. And for zero rated supply of services, the turnover you have done divide by adjusted total turnover. Adjusted total turnover is the turnover in a state or unit territory, or the turnover of zero rated of supply of services. But this turnover will not include the value of exempt supplies done other than zero rated supply. That is, any other exempted supplies you have done other than zero rated supplies will be excluded from the adjusted total turnover. Also, the turnover of supply in respect of which refund is already claimed. The relevant period means the period for which claim has been filed. So turnover will be taken of the period for which we are filing refund claim. So whatever the refund amount comes, only that refund amount will become eligible, will be admissible. Okay, sir?
There is a question, Komal. Whether aggregate turnover includes turnover of supplies on which tax is payable by the recipient under reverse charge by Akash. Should I repeat? Hello, Komal.
Sir, repeat the question, please.
Yeah. Whether aggregate turnover includes turnover of supplies on which tax is payable by the recipient under reverse charge.
Okay, sir. I'll reply in a while. You are asking aggregate turnover includes turnover of the supply on which reverse charge is charged.
Yeah. By Akash.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
No, it doesn't form part of aggregate turnover.
There is another question. Please
Yes, sir.
tell if rental income up to 20 lakhs attract GST or attract any other charge. Sumit Khetan.
No.
Another questions. I am an ice cream manufacturer with sales in one state only. Can I avail the option of composition by Ajay?
There is also a notification regarding it. I'll just tell you in a while.
No issue. Can I take another questions till that?
No, I'm just searching for the notification number. I'll be replying you.
Yeah.
There's a notification number 2/2019 which says any ice cream and other edible ice, if any person deals in such products, they are not eligible to claim composition. Like any pan masala, tobacco or tobacco substitutes, or ice cream or other edible ice, whether or not containing cocoa powders.
Okay, you mean to say they are in negative list of composition dealer.
Yeah, they cannot. They are not eligible.
Okay. Another question.
He can refer notification 2/2019.
Okay. A shop sell taxable and exempt products to the same person.
Yes.
And it is bid. A person sell taxable and exempt product to the same person. It is B2C sale. Is it required to issue tax invoice and bill of supply separately by Deepesh Arora? If you allow me, I can answer it.
Okay, sir. No issues.
Yeah. Mr. Deepesh, government allowed a person to issue bill, taxable invoice come bill of supply. He can issue.
Yes.
Another question by Rohit Kumar. Do registered dealer have to upload sale details of unregistered dealers also in GST?
Please repeat.
Do registered dealers have to upload sale detail of unregistered dealer also in GST while filing their return?
No.
They have to give cumulative information regarding
B2C in B2C, not
yeah.
डीलर वाइज नहीं देनी डिटेल्स बट ओवरऑल देनी रहेगी.
Another question by Rohan Agarwal. Whether slum sale will attract GST?
Please repeat, sir.
Whether slum sale will attract GST? If yes, then under which section? Bulk sale of machinery.
It will be a supply under section 50B of wait, section I'm not sure. I'll have to just refer it, but it will be applicable for GST.
Okay. I think it's section 50B read with section 242C.
No, sir. I also thought, but I don't think it's section 50B. I have to recheck it. It's of income tax. Section 50B is.
Okay.
I just also remembered section 50B of income tax.
No issue. You can reply in while.
Okay.
I think questions are all over.
Yes, sir. It was really a great experience, sir. It was my first webinar live. It was an amazing.
Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would also like to thank you, Jodhpur branch, Dhaval sir, Rahman sir, Ritesh sir, everyone for inviting me and taking me this webinar on GST. And again, for all the other queries, earlier also, so what was the first query which I didn't answer? Export of services. I'll surely reply to it. You can mail me the query exactly on my blog or my email ID.
Yes, we'll do.
Okay.
We'll share all the queries which we'll receive till now, or we'll share received after some time. We'll share with you.
Okay, sir.
What do you, Kritika?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful deliberation with your words. I think the knowledge provided by you would be really helpful for all of us. If any student want to put the questions, can quickly text the same. All the questions would be asked. Rahman sir, are there questions? Are there any questions?
No,
Thank you so
Kritika.
much, Kritika.
No, Kritika.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Kritika.
A massive thanks to CA Komal ma'am for answering all the questions very well. Now I would like to request Muskan Agarwal to express a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kritika. Honorable guest CA Komal Tawari Soni ma'am and our special invite CA Ritesh Bhootra sir and all the participants, I am very humbled and honored to be the one making the closing remark and giving the vote of thanks. I am here to spell out words of thanks to all those who made this evening a memorable one. I, Muskan Agarwal, on behalf of Sikasa Jodhpur and the volunteers, extend a hearty vote of thanks to honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence and took a valuable time of their busy schedule. I would like to extend a special thanks to CA Dhaval Kothari sir and CA Surendra Runawat sir for inspiring us and giving us an opportunity in this event. I must also mention our deep sense of appreciation to Rahman sir and Akshay Nair sir for the support and dedication to serve Sikasa Jodhpur branch. In addition, I would like to thank IMOC Kritika Bhansali. I am heartily thankful to all the participants for their active participation in this event. As no program can become successful without a single person, so I extend my big thanks to our Sikasa Jodhpur branch for organizing this knowledgeable webinar and all our volunteers for their support. Thanks to all being there for making this event successful. Thank you. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you so much, Muskan. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm sure you all enjoyed it out there, this wonderful webinar. I hope all of us you had a great time seeking knowledge about a part of GST. Thank you, Mohibur Rahman sir and Akshay Nair sir and Sikasa Jodhpur branch for giving me this volumetric opportunity to be the MOC for such an amazing webinar. Now, I would like to sum up with few lines. GST Goods Service Tax, Gross Service Trading, Act of Tax, Tax for Buy, Economy Developing, Harmony Integrating, Comforts Gaining, Luxuries Draining. People are paying, India is raising. Thank you so much. So, once again, thank you. All have sweet dreams. Thank you, sir.